If you can triple your income for the rest of your life, the $500 certification in 2 days, do you think it's worth the investment? Hear me out. If you're 18 years old and you graduate high school tomorrow, you are now eligible on the marketplace because you have no skills besides your high school diploma. You did no job, fucked off the whole time, don't watch YouTube to learn stuff, which is not you, but just imagine. In 2 days, you could go and become certified as a phlebotomist and go from making $7.50 or whatever the minimum wage is to what phlebotomists make at $25 an hour. You would triple your earning capacity after 2 days and spending $500. The 4 things that I look for when I'm actually trying to find that market. Number 1 is I want people who are in pain. You want to make sure that the people that you're selling to are in desperate need. They don't want, but must have the thing that you are selling. The second is that they must have the ability to buy, so purchasing power. The third factor that I look for is easy to target. Because at the end of the day, even if you have somebody who's in lots of pain who can buy your thing, if you can never find them, it doesn't matter because they're never gonna buy your thing because they'll never know you exist. The fourth one you wanna have is that you have a growing market. We have this little orientation that we take our sales guys through. And so we show this line and we say, okay, so this is you today and this is you, later. And so this is your skill as a salesperson. And so this might be, 2 weeks in, and this might be, 2 months in. And this might be, 6 months in. And so you're like, 6 months, I'm almost at the top. It's like, yeah, well, let's move this up a little bit. My drawing's a little broken. And let's say this is 3 years. So you're like, I'm only gonna make this tiny bit of improvement between 6 months and 3 years. Yeah. And the thing is though, is that your income's gonna look like this.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna basically not change much at all. And then at the very end is where you're gonna get, because this little difference, the difference between number 2 in the world and number 1, practically for running, is 1/10 of a second. Mm-hmm. But the difference between number 1 in the world and number 2 is everything. And so all of the best gains come at the very end of the compounding.
So question number 1, Alex, what is the best advice you've ever heard or received?
Do so much work, it would be unreasonable for you not to be successful.
Second question, what is the worst advice you've ever heard or received?
Follow your passion.
Question number 3, a piece of advice you wish you received sooner.
Find people better than you and do whatever you can to get them to help you, including helping them first without expectation.
Question number 4, a lesson that took you far too many times to learn.
Focus. One thing, all in.
And fifth and final question, we ask this to every guest who's ever been on the show. If you could create one law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
Everyone has to give all their wealth away at the end of their life.
I love that one.
I had 9 businesses and I was broke. The thing number 1 that is keeping you poor, uninformed optimism. Everyone thinks the grass is greener, but the other side's still lined with shit. Like, that's why the grass is so green. There's shit everywhere. I have a CFO who's been with us for a long time. She went through all of our exits last year. She's probably almost 60. And she has this saying, she's like, it's all shit. Doesn't matter what business it is, they all got shit. We encounter something that we didn't know before, and we're like, oh, this makes this shittier. And then we think, well, are we gonna jump out? No. Well, this is new information. Great, we're more informed. Fantastic. Either your girl is working, if she's working, then you can have childcare. If she's not working to take care of the kid, then you need to say, listen, sweetie, I gotta do this for us right now. And so you're putting your sacrifice in, which is you're sacrificing your career so you can be with the kid. I need to sacrifice the kid right now so I can have the career, so that together as a family we're balanced, rather than the individual. So there's 2 levels of balance I want you to think about. One is the macro, which is you can be balanced over your lifespan. When you're retired, you'll have more time. You can go to Europe, you can do whatever the other stuff is, right? And also you can be balanced in a family unit. Your wife might spend more time with the kid than she does in her career, but you're gonna spend more time in your career than you do with the kid for now. What should I sell? I call this the value equation. Now, fundamentally, you've probably heard all over the internet, you need to provide value, you gotta give value, right? But the question is, what is value? And after doing a lot of studying of figuring this out between our portfolio companies, it actually comes down to 4 variables. Variable number 1 is the dream outcome. What the dream outcome is for whoever the prospect that you pick is, the way that you can compare 2 different dream outcomes is how much more valuable do they think one outcome is versus another. If I have one ebook that helps someone lose weight, and then I've got a one-on-one personal training program that helps someone lose weight, it's the same dream outcome. So then what then determines which one is more valuable? Because the ebook might be $50 and be overpriced, and the personal training might be $5,000 and be underpriced. How can you make that discrepancy? Because there's more value. Let me explain. The next one is perceived likelihood of achievement, meaning when I buy, how likely do I think I will get what I want through buying. If I buy a $50 ebook, maybe I'll get some food that I might like in here and I can feel a little better about myself, but they don't realistically think that they're gonna all of a sudden transform their entire body from a $50 ebook. Now, if you sign up for personal training for a year, you probably have a way bigger perceived likelihood of achievement, and so you value it higher. Now, both of these elements, the dream outcome and the perceived likelihood of achievement, are the things that you want to increase in your communication with a prospect. You're saying it's really, really likely that you're gonna get this thing that you really, really want. The next two variables of the equation are the painful side of the equation, which is what does someone have to give up in order to get it? So the first thing is time. And there's two elements of time. There's micro and macro. Micro is how long is this gonna take every day? There's a certain amount of time that's gonna take on the micro for them to experience the result, right? So if I'm talking about the lady who's doing personal training, she might have to go to the gym 3 times a week. That's gonna take time. She might have to prepare food. That's gonna take time. That's on the micro level. On the macro level, how long is she gonna have to do these micro commitments in order to get the macro result that she wants? She might have to lose 50 pounds and it might take her 18 months. So macro, the goal is I want this to be as little as possible micro time, and I want this to be as short as possible on the macro, so that when I say, hey, you're gonna get the dream body you want, you absolutely know that you're gonna get it, and it's gonna happen really, really fast. So the next thing is effort and sacrifice. Effort is what you have to start doing that you weren't doing, that you don't want to do as a result of the purchase. Sacrifice are things that you have to stop doing that you wish you could do, but can't do anymore as a result of the purchase. Effort and sacrifice tend to be dual sides of the same coin. Whatever you have to start doing, you typically have to stop doing something else. The top side, we try and increase. The bottom side, we try and decrease. We want to get it to 0. Because if you think about this in a hypothetical extreme, the perfect offer that would have the absolute most value would be the biggest, most compelling dream you can possibly imagine that you're absolutely guaranteed to get instantly with no effort. So if I said you can click a button on my website and then look down at your abs and then have a 6-pack, that would be the hypothetical extreme value. Now, people can get that through personal training, changing their diet and waiting 12 months. But because of this, the value is significantly decreased because there are costs associated. The person with the highest standard should be in charge. So you can think about this at every level of the business. And so let's say you have a department for media buyers, or you have a department for content creators, or you have a department for salespeople. At every level in the company, the person who has the highest standard, the lowest tolerance, should be the person who's in charge. And that goes all the way up to the top of the business. If there's ever someone in your business who has a lower tolerance or has a higher standard for excellence than you, that person should be in charge and not you. And so I use this as a wonderful litmus test to figure out who do I think should be promoted within a company or a division or a department or even on a tiny team. Who should be the lead of that team? The person who has the highest standards. And so when I think, okay, I've got all these customer support reps, who here has the highest standard for what they believe a customer service experience should look like? That's the person you want in charge. It's who has the highest standard. And so when I was starting up, I made a lot of these mistakes. I would promote people that I liked a lot. I promote people who'd been there longer because it felt bad that this guy had been here for 18 months and this person had only been there for 2 months, and then I'm gonna promote that person over the 18-month person. But guess what? When you have one of those hard situations, guess what you get to do? You get to talk to the 18-month person and you get to explain exactly why the other person got the promotion and what they need to do so that they can get promoted in the future. And if you have a winner, that person will step up. And if you have a loser, that person will step out. And that's okay.
You need to know what inputs and outputs your money-making system are, broken down to the absolute smallest action, and that way you can crank the hell out of it. So let me explain. So if I say, all right, so this happens all the time. So if we want to invest in a company, and a lot of times, right, like we're in like the diligence part of the deal cycle, and I say, okay, so you've got 5 sales guys, and you're spending $5,000 a day on ads. That's your primary way of getting leads. Why aren't we spending $50,000 a day? I just asked the question, like, why? Like, what stops us from spending $50,000 a day? And then a number of things will come up. And then the question is, how solvable are those things? Now, if they say, well, whenever we spend more money, our ROAS goes down, I'd be like, okay, I would see that as your ads suck. If they say, we can't handle the call volume, then I'd be like, oh, you don't know how to hire, recruit, and train salespeople. Cool. If they say, oh, we could, it's just that we couldn't deliver based on the promises that we make because we have a lot of high touch service. Like, okay, so we need to systematize more stuff on the back end and get better training in place on the back end. Ideally, and maybe bring someone in who's owning that rather than the founder who's split between too many places, right? So like you can quickly understand where the constraint of the business is by simply asking, why can't we 10x this?